defeat for the homeless community and their advocates, the Supreme Court just ruled no, it does not violate the Eighth Amendment's cruel and unusual punishment clause when cities and states ban, limit, or punish people who sleep on public streets. Those punishments, including fines and jail time, according to the Supreme Court, are constitutional. In today's 6-3 ruling, all the conservative justices were in the majority, with the court's opinion written by Justice Neil Gorsuch, and the 3 liberal justices all dissented. So as you know, homelessness, especially in Western states, is a serious problem. Most of those Western states have created rules that allow local and state authorities to implement anti-camping ordinances and city codes that allow for the local authorities to simply dismantle and clear out those encampments when they're on public property. And one of those cities is Grants Pass in Oregon. That city implemented a really strict anti-camping ordinance and enforced it. And part of that ordinance says homeless people are prohibited from using a blanket, pillow, or cardboard box for protection from the elements while on the public streets. Now, for the record, there are shelter beds available in Grants Pass, but like most shelters, there are rules associated with occupying one of those beds. Back in October of 2018, some of those unhoused people in Grants Pass sued. Gloria Johnson was one. She says she's involuntarily homeless and the city doesn't have adequate shelter options for her. So because of the strict anti-camping ordinance, she has faced citations for sleeping in public parks and is prohibited from even sleeping in her van within the city limits. And she says that violates her Eighth Amendment right and should be considered cruel and unusual punishment. The appeals court agreed with her. And for the last few years, that ruling has prohibited several Western states, including Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, and Washington, from enforcing punishments for homeless people for sleeping on public property when they cannot get shelter anywhere else. The Supreme Court today said, no. The appeals court was wrong. Those judges don't have that kind of power. Justice Gorsuch writes, homelessness is complex. The causes are many. So may be the public policy responses required to address it. At bottom, the question this case presents is whether the Eighth Amendment grants federal judges primary responsibility for assessing those causes and devising those responses. It does not. In her fiery dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor starts by saying, sleep is a biological necessity, not a crime. For some people, sleeping outside is their only option. She goes on to say, no one contests that local governments can regulate the time, place, and manner of public sleeping pursuant to their power to enact regulations in the interest of the public safety, health, welfare, or convenience. When exercising that power, however, regulations still may not abridge the individual liberties secured by the Constitution. This case will now be returned back to the lower courts to continue to play out, but in the meantime, it appears like Grants Pass and these other states can continue to enforce their anti-camping ordinances and punishments. So if you want to read this ruling for yourself, I will email it out to you tonight in my Newsgirl News Roundup email, so make sure you sign yourself up. In a major defeat for the